In this Crochet for Knitters series, we've been covering a lot of different techniques, and finally we get to put them together for a project. And we're going to learn how to make granny squares here. And when I say granny squares, I mean these squares like this. In this little sample here, these are squares that are this big that are all seamed together like this. And you can do it that way, or I have this long-term project here, excuse me, where I am making one giant granny square without seaming anything together, and I'm using leftover yarn for this. And so this is a really long-term project because I'm collecting more and more leftover DK weight yarn, or this is actually fingering weight yarn, to keep making this project. And I've used a lot of yarn so far, and now I'm waiting for more leftovers so I can keep working on this. But the granny squares work up really quickly. It's an easy way to make a blanket. It's a quick way to make a blanket. And so far in these crochet techniques, we've been stabbing into stitches, which can be hard to get your crochet hook in there. This goes so much faster because with granny squares, we stab into these big gaps that are created when we chain. It'll all be clear in just a minute. Let's go ahead and get started right away with this. Oh, there is a download associated with this video. If you'd like to get your free copy of the Granny Squares pattern, you can click the link below, take you to my website, and you can get your pattern. Okay, let's take a look. Here we are. We're going to start with a slip knot like we always do. And I'm going to chain 4. Okay, we're going to make a chain ring with this, so I want to connect this around to itself. Actually, for demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and chain an extra one. I want to slip stitch into this first stitch here, and I'm going to slip stitch into the left leg of this stitch. And if you need a review of the slip stitch, I'll give you a link here. So I'll stab into there, pull up a loop, and pull it through the second one as well. Ta-da, we have a tiny ring. Now, granny squares is just a bunch of clusters of 3 double crochets together. I'm going to chain 3 to get myself set up to work a double crochet. And if you need a review of double crochet, I'll give you a link right here. I'm going to yarn over, stab into the center of the ring, grab a loop and pull it up, giving me 3 loops on the hook, grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. Just a regular double crochet. Yarn over, stab into the center of the ring, grab the yarn, pull up a loop, grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. Now I'm going to smush those together, those double crochets. What I have here, when I start out, it's a bit different than the rest of it. I have a chain 3 here, then I have a double crochet and a double crochet. It looks like 3 double crochets because we are counting that chain 3 as the first double crochet. So that counts as a cluster of 3. I'm going to chain 2. And I'm going to work another cluster of double crochets. Okay, I actually worked 3 this time. Smush those around. Chain 2. And work another cluster. And while you're working through this, I am working kind of quickly, but you can just pause the video to catch up and work your double crochets, and then we can essentially move on to the next step together. So now I have 1, 2, 3 clusters of double crochets. I need to work 1 more. Chain 2. Okay, 4 clusters of 3 double crochets, chain 2, and I want to connect this into kind of a circle, kind of a square at this point. So I'm going to slip stitch into 1, 2, the third chain. This is the chain 3 we did right at the beginning. I'm going to slip stitch into this third chain. And there we are. And I take a look at this. You should have 4 distinct gaps where you chain 2 with a double crochet cluster between each one. And it is already looking like a square. Go ahead and catch up with me for what we've done here, and next up we're going to move on to the next round, or the second round. Hopefully you've caught up with me and you've finished your first round. We're going to go into the second round of the granny square. And when I work granny squares, I mean, you can do all kinds of different things with colors and the way you put them together and everything else. I'm kind of stuck on this thing where I change colors every 2 rounds. So we did the first round in this red color. I'm going to continue with the second round in this red color. Let's go ahead and take a look. Here's a granny square that I did. And there's my first round, and there's my second round in pink. And then I changed to this cream color for the third and fourth round. And then I did border colors in this green for the 5th and 6th round. Okay. Here we are with our first round finished. And we were stabbing into the center circle for the first round. We're going to be stabbing into these 4 corner gaps right here for the second round. And our working loop is right here. We need to travel over to get to this gap here. And to do that, I'm going to slip stitch. Usually I find that just 2 slip stitches will get me close enough to this gap. I'm going to slip stitch into the back leg, the right leg, I guess, of the V here. Grab the yarn, pull through both, stab, grab the yarn, pull through both. And then I want to slip stitch into this gap. So I stab into the gap, grab the yarn, pull up a loop, pull it through the loop on the hook. Let me show you that one more time. Stab into the gap, grab the yarn and pull up a loop, and pull it through the loop on the hook. Okay, now I'm actually in this gap and ready to start working. So I chain 3 to get started, get myself set up for double crochet, and I'm going to work, you guessed it, another cluster of 3 double crochets. Just like with the first row, that first chain that I did counts as one of the double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and I'm going to work a second cluster into the same corner. Okay, so I have 2 clusters of 3 double crochets with a chain 2 between them in this corner. I'm ready to travel over and start working in this corner. I'm going to chain 1 this time. We only chain 2 on the corners. We chain 1 when we're working across to the next corner. I'm going to work my first cluster. Chain 2, my working yarn fell on the floor a long time ago and I didn't bother picking it up, so I'm just going to pull a bunch of yarn on the table. You notice I'm always squishing the stitches over to make room for the next one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3. I'm ready to travel over to the next gap, so I chain 1. And work 2 more double crochet clusters. Smush those over, chain 2, chain 1 to move on to the next gap here. You see how much more quickly this goes when you're not carefully stabbing into a stitch. I think that's the slowest part of crochet, is when you have to really watch where you're putting your hook into the work, and you just don't with granny squares. Chain 2, work my second cluster. Okay. I'm going to chain 1 here because I'm traveling over to this one. And just like we did with the first round, I need to connect this side to this side. So I count up 1, 2, 3 and slip stitch into that stitch to connect them. Now let me straighten this out so we can take a look. I should have 4 distinct corners with a chain 1 gap between each one. Next up, in round 3, I'm going to show you how to change colors. Okay, hopefully you've caught up with finishing that round. We're going to move on to the third round and change colors this time. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is exactly where we left off in the last video. I have this one loop left here, and all I'm going to do is break the yarn and just pull that through, just like how we fasten off in knitting. Now last time we had to travel with slip stitches over to get to the next gap. When you change colors, you don't have to do that. I apologize for the colors here. I guess it's kind of Christmassy looking, but it should be easy to see at least. I am going to start in a corner, because I always start a new color in a corner. You can start in a side gap if you like, but I'm going to stab into a corner, and just like when I'm attaching new yarn when I'm knitting, I'm going to fold the yarn over, leaving myself about a 6-inch tail, and make a loop, put that on the hook, and pull up a loop. Now to get started with chain 3, or to get started with double crochet, I want to chain 3. And one thing that I like to do to help secure the tail end is I hold both strands together for the chain 3. Okay, so my end is kind of, I'm probably pretty much woven in there. I might want to weave it in a little bit more, but it's pretty much woven in. Now I'm going to work 2 clusters of 3 double crochet in this corner. Anyway, that's the way you change color, is you really just start working with it and chain up. Oh, this yarn is so much smoother than the red yarn. So again, just like with the other corners, the chain 3 that I did counts as 1 double crochet. I did 2 more. I'm going to chain 2. I'm sorry, I'm going to chain 1, because I'm going to travel over to this side gap here. And I'm going to work 1 cluster of double crochets in the side gap. This is where it starts to get a little bit different, because the sides are becoming longer. So not everything's a corner anymore. It'll be clear here in just a minute. So I'm going to chain 1 to travel over here, to work to 2 double crochets in this corner. Whoops. And after I get these worked, I will go over again how the pattern is emerging here. There's 1, I'm going to chain 2 because it's a corner. Okay, let's talk about what we just did. Oops, I only worked 1 over here in this corner. I need a second one, but I can catch it on the way over. Okay, let's just look at the part that I did here. We have 2 clusters of double crochets here because it's a corner. We have just 1 cluster here because it's a side. And I'm going to work a second one over here. If I had been thinking about it, I would have worked the second one while I was there. But since it's the beginning of the row, I can just work it in there when I get all the way around the whole side. So now, as I go over to this side, I have the side gap here where I'm going to work 1 double crochet cluster, and I have the corner where I'm going to work 2. When I'm traveling from one gap to the next, I chain 1 between. So I'm going to chain 1, 1 double crochet cluster, chain 1, and then a double crochet cluster here, chain 2, a second double crochet cluster in here. And let's actually do it. Chain 1, 1 cluster of 3 double crochets. I should have been working with this yarn all along. It is so smooth. It has baby alpaca in it. Chain 1 to travel over this gap. Chain 2 after the first cluster. And there you have it. You continue that around for this whole round. And then from here on out, the only thing that really changes is that you're going to end up with more side gaps, is what I call them. It's always going to be 4 corners, but you'll have more side gaps like these here, where you'll work a cluster of 1 in each one. If you follow the pattern, it will tell you exactly how to continue working for the other rounds. Next up, I'm going to show you how to seam the granny squares together. As I mentioned at the beginning of this lesson, you have the option of doing a bunch of granny squares and seaming them together like this, or you can keep working around and around like I did here, where it's just one giant granny square with no seaming. I will tell you that if you choose to do it this way, you're going to need greater and greater and greater amounts of yarn to actually make it all the way around the whole thing in one color, which is one of the reasons that this project's on hold until I get a lot more of this weight of yarn to keep working on that leftover blanket. Okay, I'm going to show you how to seam here, and crocheted seaming is really easy to do. Easier than mattress stitch. Let's go ahead and take a look. I have these 2 giant granny squares finished here, and crochet isn't all that different from the right side to the wrong side, but the wrong side, you'll have your tail end hopefully sticking out on the wrong side, and the stitches look a little flatter. Once you look at it, crochet for a while, it becomes easy to tell which is which. The reason I'm mentioning this is because we're going to seam on the wrong side of the work. We're going to have the wrong side of the work facing out. And I'm actually going to turn it this way. Now, the sides of the crochet looks like a bind-off row with a bunch of V's, and that's exactly what we're going to work into as we seam. We're going to find the bottom corner over here on this first one, and I'm going to work into the bottom V, or what I would call, I guess, the right leg of the V. I'm going to stab into there, and then over here, my V's are going this way, I'm going to work into the top leg of the V. So I'm leaving a leg of the V on the inside of the work, or on the right side of the work. So I stab into both of those, and this is really just slip stitch. I'm going to attach the yarn. If you were thinking ahead, you could have left long tails, I suppose, at the end of your work. I'm going to fold the yarn over, leaving myself like a 6-inch tail to weave in, loop it around the hook, and pull it through both loops. Then again, I'm going to stab into the outside leg of the top and the outside leg of the bottom. Grab the yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. Outside leg, whoops, I grabbed too much there. grab the yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. I'm slip stitching these as I seam them, and I want to show you what I'm talking about here, why we're grabbing the outside legs. It's because it gives you this border between the squares by leaving the leg of the V on the right side of the work and just grabbing the ones on the outside. It gives you this border, which is really nice. If you don't want the border, you can stab through both legs of the V and have it go like that, but I think it looks good. Let me show you again. Stab into the outside leg, grab the yarn, pull it through all 3 loops. You see how quickly this goes, and it's not just because I'm using super bulky yarn. This really does go quickly. Oops. Let's take a quick look at how this looks on the right side. You'll see that border that I was talking about is showing up here like this. Doesn't it look good? Now, when you're seaming granny squares, I recommend that you do it just like if you were seaming blocks in knitting. Seam blocks together all the way across to make a long strip, and then seam the long strips together. So seam these boxes together this way, and then seam the long strips together like that. And that'll do it. You're well on your way to making a granny square blanket. Good luck.